Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I almost did my retro rebound intro. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. As you can tell, I've been recording a lot lately. We're in that holiday groove. Welcome to Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. You know what really threw me off is as I was opening it, I realized we're doing these kind of recordings in advance. This is a holiday episode, and we don't know what episode number this will actually end up being. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Defining Duke. We'll just call it that. As always, I'm joined by jolly old Saint Cog. How are you doing today? Good, sir.
Doing good. Christmas came early.
Yes, indeed.
Got the Soto situation.
Yes, man. Yes.
Woo.
Bro,
feeling good.
I'm loving the cope I'm seeing in baseball right now.
Tell me, you see the tides changing? You see
the
shift?
All of a sudden it's an overpay, even though tons of GMs are offering the same bread. You know, everyone's suddenly like, no, that wasn't worth it. I'm like, give me a break, bro. Give me a break. Everyone wanted this guy, 26-year-old phenom. You don't want this guy on your team. We get an opt-out after 5 years. We get him in his prime at minimum. That is an incredible deal, in my opinion. I would pay that money for sure. So,
listen,
dude, it's a new era.
It's a new era, bro.
This is
they call him King Koa, bro.
Yeah. It's a huge moment. Like a guy jumping ship from the Yankees of that caliber after a World Series run to the Mets. Bro. That says a lot about what they think of our future, man. That's huge.
For sure. Absolutely. That was the thing that threw me off because, you know, historically, you know, these type of deals, we always are being used by the agent.
I thought that's what was going to happen this year. That's why I didn't think that Soto would happen. I didn't think
it was going to happen. I was just waiting for the news. So when it's over, then we can worry about Pete, worry about the pitching, whatever. So when I saw the news break, I'm like mind blown. And then doing more research on it, the deals were comparable. It was just, it was a situation where the Yankees offered more years and the Mets offered a little more per year. And then now the Yankee fans are turning on Stauber and Howe because they're like, I guess one of the deal breakers was that Yankees have a tradition, like no one gets a suite, everyone's clean shaven. Oh, yeah. And suite was one of the things that he wanted. Oh. So Steve Cole was like, yeah, what's up? What you want? It's all good. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but now this is a seismic shift. And the reason why Met fans are excited is, you know, I'm old enough to be around during the coupon era, the Wilpon era, where we have this big market team that shops at Walmart and we act like, and we always get aging over the hill superstars.
Yep.
Never someone in his prime. And this guy's a World Series champion. I love the on-base percentage. You could arguably make top 3 in baseball, but the fact he chose the Met, yes, it's with money, but he chose the Met, bro. I am elated. And I heard Cohen is not done. They're telling me that Alonso's not off the table.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a new day. It's a seismic shift in New York baseball.
Getting that playoff performer, I can't tell you how excited I am about that. Because that's why I want Pete back. I'm like, look, I know that average ain't nice, but like this dude was clutching the playoffs. Like you gotta hold on to him.
Homegrown tool.
Yeah.
I will always remember for the Milwaukee game. That Milwaukee game, I was tears. I literally teared up from. I was like, he needed that something awful, and he had his moment. So I would love, bro. I know we're going Mets right now, the Xbox podcast, but there are similarities. This is the ABK deal for the Mets.
Yeah, yes, that is very true. The saving moment for the brand, truly.
But last thing I'll say, Lindor, Total, and a young Vientos.
Oh yeah,
with Alfonso, that could be special.
Yeah,
for a long time. So, yeah, we're happy right now. Met fans are partying in the streets right now.
It's a good time to be us after all these years of suffering. I was looking. Just last thing I'll say is I was looking at when Brody Van Wagenen was our GM, and like he was like, "Merry Christmas, Mets fan." Like say hello to some new faces, and it was like, I didn't even fucking remember who these guys were, bro. But they were such no names. Like the only one I remember was like Familia.
Yeah.
So who we signed or something like that. Yep. I was like, nah, like we were so thrilled to have like bottom of the barrel pitching.
Bro, like coupons. That's what we used to do.
It's so much better right now. So I'm just savoring this, and I'm loving that we splashed. And look, man, if the Dodgers can do it, so can we. And I feel like that's his energy. He's like, all right, All right, I got more money than all y'all.
Yep, straight up. And this guy buys art for like it's going out of style.
Yep.
So play it for him is nothing. So yeah, he was determined. He was not leaving without him, and I love him for that. And he's a Met fan. He's a Met fan who's an owner, which is crazy.
Huge. So, ladies and gentlemen, we do all that to set the tone because we want Xbox to have that kind of moment in 2025. You know, that moment of like, all it takes is one big move, one huge aggressive move to turn things around. But as we're wrapping up the year, what we like to do each year in Defining Duke is really recap the past calendar year for Xbox. This one in particular feels more relevant than others. You know, I remember last time we did this, we were feeling really good, right? We had a lot of big exclusives on Xbox. I really always point to Forza and Hi-Fi Rush and Starfield. I was like, you know, man, like what a good year for Xbox. Like this is kind of what we were looking for. Quarterly releases, big exclusives, a lot of excitement around the brand. Game Pass was popping off. You had like a month with Lies of P in there as well as Starfield. Like that was huge for someone like myself. They had just good variety across the board. Felt like the plan was coming together. And once the ABK deal was done, we're soaring upward, right? Well, life caught up with us all. We got a lot to talk about from the multi-platform push for Xbox, their hardware decline, losing 4 Bethesda Studios, 2 of them still existing in interesting ways. The decline in quality for some releases, some landmark releases, especially in this year, some that we were even counting on to be obvious wins, but it's not all that bad. We do have some positives to point out this year. And as I mentioned, it's going to be kind of just running down Xbox's 2024 and looking ahead a little bit to what they can do for 2025. So Cog, I want to pass it to you. Just you can start this conversation literally wherever. These shows obviously don't have like writers or anything, so it's very free form. You want to start off on a negative, a positive? Where does your head go for Xbox's 2024 to open us up?
Late start. Very late start. Kind of, I would say like, we just got to be, my feeling of this year was like, we came in like big year energy. Okay. They've got a lot lined up. We know the slate, right? And I got to be honest, I do feel the business update just set the tone in a negative way for them. So it became about forgetting about what the actual games were that they had. And it then transformed and metamorphosized into, well, are they caring about hardware? Where are the games going? And how many more games outside the... And that put such a cloud on the goodwill of the momentum that was supposed to start the year, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I feel. It was a lot of like, I want to say like, I don't want to call it a misstep, but it's they literally, I'll tell you how the community feels. The community feels like self-sabotage in the sense that like, man, like everyone's like, yo, man, it's going to be crazy. Indiana Jones and Hellblade and this one, that one. Their lineup is stacked. ABK's going down this year. And then it's like, wait, what? What's happening to the games? Where are they going?
Yeah.
And to me, they're just now, in my opinion, towards the end of the year, that feeling, in my opinion, is starting to be normalized. But it took a long time, and in my opinion, it did do damage to the brand. It did. 100%. So that's how I look at it as a year that, if you look at it objectively, they had good games and good release stuff. Obviously, some surprises that were not good. We will talk about that. Yeah. But I feel, in my opinion, that is the year. The everything is Xbox year. Yeah. Is to me overshadows what actually released. And that, to me, their marketing push and their direction was the talk as opposed to the games.
Yeah, to that point, that this is an Xbox ad really kind of felt like salt in the wound for some people. But I did the Xbox 2024 year in review thing that they have on their site. I signed in. I was like, how many hours did I log onto my Xbox this year? Because I mentioned on the show, I was like, I don't feel like I've used this much, but I've played a lot of Xbox games. I'll be real, 74 hours. I sent you the screenshot. 74 hours with most of those on Starfield, because I like Starfield. Starfield's fun, and then a lot of that was for the expansion. A game like Hellblade was really short, so that didn't really add many hours. But that's not much, because I've been moving over to PC, where I have been playing a lot of Xbox games. Like all my hours on Indie, for example, are over there, and I'm very into their ecosystem, but I'm not playing on their console. Right. And that was a moment of like reflection where I went, and how... I'm not the only one, clearly, based on their marketing. How many people are really having that moment I'm having, where it's like, yeah, I own an Xbox. I love Xbox a ton, but I didn't really use my console that much. Especially, I don't, part of it's because I don't buy third party like physically on Xbox almost ever because of like it's pointless. Like I'm just being real, like it is. So I do find myself at times using my PlayStation more or my Switch more, just by nature of how I collect games. Maybe be a little bit different if I was like a digital consumer, but yeah, man, like that opened my eyes a little bit too. Okay, this is an Xbox is a fun thing to laugh at, but I'm still very invested in the Xbox ecosystem, despite not, I'm a host of this show, right? And like, I didn't really play on the platform that much this year, right?
That's good. It's interesting your habits, right? Based on
right,
what you said.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally in. Like the games they had, I played them all. I played Horror History Untold. The only one I think that came out this year that was in the Xbox ecosystem that I didn't play through and through was Microsoft Flight Sim 24. It was like the only one I felt I missed. Everything else I played through, the good and the bad. So yeah, it was an interesting point of reflection for me of like, I feel the vision is a little more tangible now because I am that person. I am this is an Xbox guy. Like I am beyond the ecosystem they're targeting in a sense. Don't get me wrong. I would happily use my console more. But again, there's just some things with Xbox's current setup for me in particular. Again, the physical collecting side of things that just does not attract me to purchase games physically on their console. Indiana Jones is one of those. I was like, I'm probably going to buy that physically on PS5 when it comes out because there's a better chance that full game is on disc then versus what Xbox is doing, which is selling a coaster. And I'm not one of those physical collectors, just to be clear, because some people will just straight up buy physical anyway. It's like, oh, I want to support it. And I respect and understand that. For me, it's like, I don't do it like with a Halo Infinite or something where it's like, I'm denying reality.
Right, because it's an online only game.
Yeah. But without getting rambling, I agree that opening up the year, it did set the tone, and I was one of those critics, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, interesting. Like I am that person. I am.
No, it definitely is. And I think as the year went on, what I noticed is the double down from them.
Oh yeah,
the triple down, right? And now it's like, yo, we don't care. It's like, go ahead, Maddie. We love you over there. We love you playing on PC more because in their mind, they're like looking at the monthly active users, they're looking at the daily active users. You're consuming the content where you want to consume it. So ultimately, they're like, okay. And I think that's what the dichotomy of this is because it's what we're used to, what the console user wants, right? And then what they are looking for, what leadership is looking for. And it's the vibe I got from Microsoft Gaming is, hey, we're willing to put Indiana Jones somewhere else. If Maddie's going to pick it up somewhere else, we're cool with that. As long as because the vibe I'm getting, again, this is just me guessing and how they're moving, is one, because we saw it verbiage today. Matt Booty saying, almost, I want to say conflicting what Phil Spencer said in terms of the no red lines. But now we're going back to case by case basis again. Did you see that? So again,
I did not, but that's so frustrating.
It shows me they still don't have a concrete plan as to how this vision is going. They are playing it by ear. They're figuring it out on the fly. And I think that I've always stayed consistent with it. And now that I saw this recent Matt Booty comment from, I think it was in Variety, I'll send you the link if you haven't seen it yet. It's just like, it's just what they don't know. This is uncharted territory for them. And the way I look at it, like for example, with an Indiana Jones, we do know from the Insomniac leaks, these licensed games cost a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And how you get back profit. And I think part of it was like, hey, looking at the number, maybe that. Now we all agree we don't like how it was done with Indiana Jones and the release that, the reveal to Keighley and just disrespectfully, but you have an Xbox base who's been waiting for the longest for this game. They don't even have a date. And then they find the date when they find it's also coming out to another platform. Very disrespectful to your base. Will not forgive them with that. And I heard internally they didn't like that themselves, but it's still your own fault for allowing that to happen. There's still no excuses.
Rushed, hand wavy. Yeah, not good.
Yep. And I'm kidding. It means there's too many hands in the kitchen. You got to get a hold of that messaging. But to the overall picture, it shows me maybe the reason why it's done is, we got to get a return on this. This is a great game. This cost a lot of money. We did a lot of research. And hey, Game Pass subs may be going up, but we will still like this back end money on other platforms, whether it be Nintendo Switch 2 or PlayStation 5.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes to that multi-platform strategy announcement that they effectively made in April this year. That was, as you mentioned, the real turning point of the year. Leading into that, the rumor was like, oh, there's a couple of games that are going to leave Xbox, and that spiraled real fast. And from there, that business update did set that tone where we all knew what was going to happen, at least here on the show, right? We talked about how they said, oh, it's just these four. We're just going to do Grounded and Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves. And we'll see how it goes. Well, Sea of Thieves went on to sell over 1 million copies on PS5. And that was the biggest success of them all. We didn't hear much about Grounded or Pentiment or Hi-Fi Rush. I imagine those did not sell very well since we didn't hear about them because it's easier to get sales figures for PlayStation, comparatively speaking. But as Cog and I said, it could go either way, and Xbox would have felt vindicated, right? As in, you have this success in Sea of Thieves. They're like, well, that's Sea of Thieves. That's like a 7-8-year-old game. Let's go try something else now and see how that does on PlayStation and Switch. Or you fail and you go, well, we didn't really put out any heavy hitters here. Let's try Starfield and see how that goes. And as we record this, it's actually ahead of the Game Awards, so we don't know if there's any other multi-platform announcements that are going to be en route. But as it stands, there's a laundry list of games that Xbox fans are expecting to flee the platform. And one thing I was starting to commend Xbox for this year is with their shift away from physical. We were talking a bit about it. Like if you go to a store, in some cases, like a Target or a Best Buy, you sometimes just don't see Xbox games physically at all, which is crazy. But that combined with what they're doing with Avowed, Indiana Jones, right? Like just no real physical copy presence. It's like, yeah, it's a waste of money to print these physicals if the disc is just a license key at the end of the day. But I've always argued, I think storefront presence, especially in the holiday period, is incredibly valuable. I don't know if you can just sell an Xbox without seeing any games surrounding it, so that, as we always have for the extent of our gaming careers, like I see my PS2 and I see Sly Cooper next to it. And I'm like, oh, these two go together. Perfect.
Right.
This is the package I'm buying, right? Like, not having that ability to do that in a storefront for the holidays, especially, I think is a pretty big mistake. Sorry, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, you're onto something, because you got me thinking, because like I'm from your mindset, right? Which is like, it's the holidays, you go into retail and, a lot of this stuff influences your purchase, right? You go there and you're like, man, for the holidays, and you see a great deal, you go pick something up. And the fact that their ecosystem is so digitally entrenched, and it's obviously it's Game Pass and it's digital and it's cloud, like, and for them to, now kind of forcibly almost remove themselves from their storefronts, right? While conceding to your competitors, so to speak, in the retail space, right? There's a part of me that I really struggle with that, because I'm like, man, like, you don't have much of a presence here. How is anyone really supposed to get word of mouth of your product and your brand, right? Then there's a second part of me where I'm like, okay, this is older cock. And like, for example, I look at, like, I'm from the era where I go shopping, I'm gonna get some nice fit. And like, you go to the retail and now it's like, bro, there's no changing room and there's no fitting room. Or it's like, hey, order your clothes online. Like, that to me is just so wild, because I like to try stuff on, but I'm wondering also, am I not adapted to what's actually going on? Because I also have a friend who does sports buying and licensing and stuff like that. And he's telling, bro, retail is dying out here, bro. He was telling me stories. I was like, really? He was like, yeah. He's like, and stores are closing up all the time. And people are trying to justify having these storefronts when dudes can just Amazon all day or whatever. I'm like, people, like, again, it's a struggle for me because it's what I'm used to. Also, for gaming, I do feel what you say, like, it should be important to have some form of purpose. So how do you navigate that while still keeping yourself relevant? Or is it, they got all the data that shows, yeah, Cog, that's nice, but, no one's really consuming data this way. And I'm like, that's the dichotomy here. And sometimes they tend to be overly aggressive with this stuff, right? But, time will tell, if this is the correct strategy, so to speak.
Yeah, to my point earlier, those two major shifts, right, of the exclusivity and sort of what they were communicating about, like, we're going to do more. It was like one of those things where we could argue it all day, but they committed. For them now, I'm reading this article, for them now to go instead and say case by case basis is what's frustrating about the brand, because the thing I commended them for most as they wrapped up the year is like, okay, you're determined in this direction. You're making it loud. You made a whole marketing campaign about it. This is an Xbox, right? Like, you could not be more loud than what they're doing. And for one person to come in, and a person who leads all of your game studios, might I add, to come in. So it's not just anyone. It's like one of the head figures of Xbox, and undermine all of that. It is the biggest problem with the brand. Is I was commending them for like, hey, look, communication and consistent messaging has been your biggest weakness, and then you figured it out this year, and that's great. And then here we go again. And it's like, why are we doing this? You know, like, it just, you're not, even if you are having this internal war with one another and you're just trying to constantly undermine each other, you're both killing the brand combined just by fucking constantly giving mixed messaging. You know what I do when I see this sort of crap? All right, I'm gonna go shop elsewhere. Why would I waste my time trying to figure it out? No one's got time for that. No one's gonna buy hardware or invest in even your free ass PC app, not knowing what the fuck is going on. Just like, all right, see you when we see you. You figure it out. You let me know, right? I think most people have that energy. So that was something I actually had listed as a positive, is like their communication and messaging was finally getting a little more consistent. But here we go again. So it's a negative.
yeah, that's a negative. It's no sugarcoat. Look, even though this is a negative that I secretly like, only because, remember, I'm dying on this sword. I listen, communication is bad. Let's get that out. COG is not corporate cogging here. Bad communication, mixed messaging is bad, right? Mm-hmm. My selfishness as a console-centric gamer is, I worry, and I say it time and time again, do you devalue your brand by bringing tentpole core essence games to the other platforms? The burger, shake, and fries of Halo, Forza, Gears. I feel those are your core identity. At some point, you know what I mean? You may lose who you are by doing that. And that's my concern long term. But again, we talked about ABK, we talked about Bethesda. In my opinion, they were third-party centric publishers before you acquired them. I have no issues with that. This is not about denying people games. You just create confusion, is what I say. And that's why there's a part of me that does. It is interesting that Matt Booty is saying this right now, because there's a part of me that shows, there still is an internal conflict, because we just came from the everything is an Xbox, anything can go. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting situation.
I have a potential solution.
All right, what you got?
A solution that dates back to the very first Xbox. Tell me if you agree. I think it's this simple. Remember this stamp?
Oh.
Remember this stamp right here? This was also on the 360 covers.
Only on Xbox. Audio listeners, he got the only on Xbox right now. I remember that.
Yeah. And honestly, as a game collector, I'll just say whenever I see that stamp, it's on site. It's on site. I'm just like, there was, and I don't know if people agree. Again, this is more of a deeper cut, but I'll just say as a collector, like when I see that, it excites me because I'm like, oh, this is an only Xbox experience. I think if you want to make it clear, if you want to do your case-by-case basis, I support that. I'll get into why in a second. I think you need, just like you've marketed this as an Xbox and that everything can be an Xbox, you need to market what are Xbox games. And when I look at the Xbox One, I mean, whoever the cover art and whoever the case guys have been since Xbox One need to go. They put the fucking disc on the left side, dude. Like, it was a wrap from the start.
It was a wrap?
Yeah, it was probably the wrap guy. You know? I think he's probably responsible for all this. Like, that is such a pick-me-ass choice. Like, look at me, everyone. I got my disc on the left side. So bring back the 360 and Xbox dudes and chicks. Okay. Let them figure it out. But I say all this because let's get down to brass tacks, right? We often talk about like what Xbox is doing, what they could be doing. What do we want? And quite frankly, when I think about it, you know, I don't want to limit anyone from playing anything. At the same time, though, I agree with your argument that you risk losing what defines Xbox. It's just kind of this, it's just identity-free brand that could be anywhere with anything. And then what the exclusives need to exist to make it stand out, I feel like that is just how the market is defined. Otherwise, you just go and get a PlayStation like people are doing this generation and saying, I'll get that Xbox game, whatever. I am still a believer in exclusives of some kind. You know, there's been no reason so far to suggest to me when I'm looking at PlayStation and Nintendo that the dramatic shift Xbox has made was completely necessary with everything they now own, right? Because what we were talking about is, okay, Xbox was lacking IP. And a lot of these acquisitions was targeting that, right? Now you got Fallout. Now you got Elder Scrolls. Now you got all these big IP. You have Call of Duty. There's a lot there that you could and probably would be wise to not weaponize. But in turn, you have across Bethesda and Activision a slew of things you can reactivate or just start. I'm not advocating for this, but like, frankly, gatekeeping. And I just look at where they turned the page, right? And it was right after the Activision acquisition. We know that because the money they were making in 2023 just was bad. It was bad. Like things like Starfield even weren't moving enough to change Xbox's profit margins for that quarter. But when you get all of those ABK IP and you keep Call of Duty multiplat, the vision that a lot of us saw with Xbox at that time was like, okay, Call of Duty multiplat, Candy Crush cash, like ABK is going to funnel a shit ton of money into this company each and every quarter without fail. That is why they went and got them. And what will this enable? More Starfields, more hi-fi rushes, just more experiments, more third-party exclusivity. Like it felt like they were on the cusp of that game plan. And that's why I think, number one, people have walked from the platform because they were at the cusp of that game plan that they clearly were moving toward and then stopped. But number two is, again, the confusion. Personally, what I would want, I would like to see a world where Xbox got aggressive with exclusives. I would like to see what happens there, right? Like where they played PlayStation's game and really created that kind of competition, you know? At the same time, this is where it's tough to just speak about like, what do you want versus what's actually realistic? Because Cog mentioned licensing deals, Indiana Jones. I mean, we saw PlayStation with how much money they technically still made. Like a lot of that goes to Disney. You know, a lot of that gets kicked back. And these games have to sell. It's already tough to sell games nowadays because there's so much stuff coming out constantly, and a lot of it is very good. So you combine, now you add on a license fee. Now your game has to perform higher than most. That's why we get these licensed games so rarely, because it is such a risk. Where what Xbox is doing with multiplat and making their games available everywhere makes sense. I think business-wise, you could argue they're doing the right thing, but it reminds me a little bit of the Xbox One, where it's possible they're like a decade ahead of where we're going. You know, I understand when you look at like PlayStation, a lot of people see that as validating. Like, look, see, they're going to PC. But Xbox started doing that in like what, 2015?
Super early. Yeah, it was early.
They started really early. So I don't know if it's a sign of PlayStation necessarily feeling like they're going to start moving toward Xbox. They've shown every indication that they'll do everything but release on an Xbox. Xbox bending the knee. And I mean, again, we talked about that Nintendo partnership that seemed to be cropping up, like they're putting switches in the background and whatnot. They were clearly teasing something was happening there, right? Remember that? Like we thought,
oh hell yeah,
Darabon was onto something, Phil was onto something. Rumors were coming out that like maybe Xbox Game Pass Switch partnership, that sort of thing. And that can still happen with like a Switch too, don't get me wrong. Right. But it felt like we were starting to plant the seeds of like when games leave the Xbox platform, it's part of like an application-based deal. Like you're going to take Game Pass, but instead now they're just giving all their games away. And it's just an interesting spot to see this company in, man, because again, as someone who, you know, we've really tracked them so closely this generation, and that game plan that was it really started in 2018. Like we're buying Ninja Theory and we're buying Playground Games and we're buying all these different teams. It felt like it really came to fruition in the end of 2023, sorry. And to see them walk on it, like I still have that level of frustration of just like wondering what could have been, right? Would indie have had that same zeitgeist, knowing it's like, oh my God, like this is, frankly, I know it's in a time period, but indie's like one of it might be the best Xbox exclusive this generation, in my opinion, next to Hi-Fi Rush.
You can make the argument. It's up there.
Yeah. And one of the best Xbox exclusives ever, potentially, in the case of the last two generations, especially, you know? And there was a level of like, that's not exciting for Xbox, you know? They don't really get much out of it, it feels like. You know what I mean?
I know, I get where you go.
It sounds like I'm advocating strictly against what they're doing.
Right.
But maybe I'm old school. Again, I see the business sense, and I've argued in defense of it many times. So I'm trusting that people who listen to our show know my head's in the right place. But my heart is like, I don't know. This year, I mean, you just see like the immediate decline in rep, in optics, in faith, those intangibles, but also like your hardware. July 2024, 42% decline compared to the same period last year.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's horrible.
That's really bad. That's been a consistent metric all year. So I've been ranting and raving.
I love it.
But again, bring back this stamp. This stamp, I think, would change everything. I'm being honest.
I'm the heart is with you. I struggle because I sit there and I say, okay, we do know, let's talk about the exclusive part. And this is, y'all know I believe in exclusives. I've always believed in exclusives. I think exclusives bring flavor, to a platform, right? And give that individuality, the reason to be invested in the ecosystem. However, I mean, I gotta look, I'm a data guy. I look at data and I go, okay, even though I want this, and I do feel it would be better, and I feel it should push hardware, right? The hardware is down. Also, I look at the fact that we now have evidence that the money-hatting exclusives, less and less, seem to be profitable and even not even desirable from the actual companies themselves that are eligible to be money-hatted, And we have examples of companies saying, hey, don't know if I really want to lock down Final Fantasy series to PlayStation anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to lock down, a certain thing. I told you about the the Crimson Desert situation. Like we're starting to see evidence of it, right?
Yeah.
And to Xbox's credit, they have been on record early and say, hey, we don't really believe in that specifically, and that was fine. But I think to your frustration, we thought, okay, well, you're not going to do that, but you're going to invest in all these studios, and then these studios will be exclusive. These games will be exclusive to you. Thus, and then you got the PC backing, right? To say, okay, you're putting it on Xbox and you're getting the profit from PC and Steam. So that should be enough, right? Kind of thing. And we got to be honest, right? We look at the Hellblade 2 situation. And I know you weren't the biggest fan of the game, but the game received like an 81, 82 Metacritic. Mostly received well, right? Despite its flaws. And the thing that I noticed is we saw how not well it did, right? And it did PC and launch at the same time, right? So we all talked about, like, yo, is that a game that might be eligible to go, right? And also, like, I also think about like single player. We talk about indie again, right? Single player where there's no real microtransactions, there's no real live service-ness to it. How do they get the legs? And I think this is the shift in the industry. These games are extremely expensive. The cool thing that we learned about the Insomniac leaks is even Insomniac themselves said, look, man, we may have to split this thing up into two smaller $50 versions of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro.
Exactly. There's that business sense.
They please continue. Say what you're going to say.
There's the business sense is totally on point. Like, you and I have agreed on this for all this year, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no denying that. But how do you, I guess the question I'm trying to get to the root of is, how do you maintain that business sense but keep your identity? You need those exclusives, right?
You're right.
You need them.
But they exclusive. What if the exclusives are not set? What if they got the data that says, yo, that didn't move? We know Hi-Fi Rush ain't do nothing. We have footage. Like, Hi-Fi Rush did. Now, the argument could be made, Xbox, you could have sent that out to die by the way you stealth dropped it. So the argument can be made that. Yeah. But you make a valid question, right? How do you keep your identity, keep people invested in the platform, but your numbers are showing that people are bleeding and exiting the platform? Exiting is rover. Your hardware is bleeding at a rapid pace. You got the MAUs, you got all this other stuff, you got online and you got, here's the thing though, I got to give them credit. We always forget this part. They're making the most money. Like, they're making tremendous revenue based on how much you've been online and how much you spent. So the guys are not buying hardware in the ecosystem, but they're spending hella money. So it's this dichotomy that they're in. Like, how do you navigate that? And I think that's why it's so difficult for them to narrow down and lock in on a philosophy, so to speak, because they're in this conundrum. I don't know how to fix it. I just know selfishly what I want. I like your idea of only on Xbox. I like still having exclusives. I like that part. You know what I'm saying? That to me is what I'm used to. I'm just trying to make sure it makes sense for them to exist. So I don't know.
I really am, apologies if I sound in love with my own ideas here, but I really do feel like their route to kind of getting people to buy into the idea is being the first console to have multiple storefronts on it from other providers. If you can do that, then your vision feels tangible in a way that it matters a little bit less if you don't have exclusives because you just have access. Like that's the true definition of I have just access to my games through Xbox, right? Like I bought this platform that's in my living room, but it has, again, I've always used Steam as an example, as like one who I think would actually do that partnership. They have a good relationship with Steam. Like, you know, oh, we have my whole Steam library and I have my Xbox library here. That's a huge selling point on its own. It's a huge selling point, especially because Xbox, they just talked about with their PC app upgrades, they added a bunch of games there and they have a term for it. What is it? Like dual entitlement or something like that, where, you know, you buy it on your PC, but you can play it on your Xbox. So I feel like that philosophy would come to life then, because I'm trying to think next gen, right?
Right.
If you're leaving exclusives behind, which it seems like they are for the most part, despite what Matt Booty just said, it seems like otherwise they've just marketing campaigns, products, the way they're putting release dates out there, everything is suggesting to me like we're going some level of multiplat. Like you'll play it on Xbox for a time period, but otherwise this is leaving. So how do you sell a new console to people in a couple of years with them having this knowledge, right? And I feel like the value proposition worked for them at the start of this generation. There was no exclusives. Xbox and PlayStation were pretty neck and neck, and all Xbox had to their name was Game Pass. And Game Pass honestly wasn't even that great until I would say the start of 2021, where you saw the potential of like, oh man, day one, that's a thing. Like Outriders, like I wouldn't have bought this otherwise. I wouldn't have played this otherwise. And that part of our brain unlocked, and day one Game Pass became the huge thing it is. It's quietly like one of the best things Xbox has ever done. And I say quietly because we've come to expect it, but I think we forget it's a recent addition. It's 3 years old. So it's only been around a short time, or I think it'll be 4 at the top of the new year. But my point being is, you know, how do you sell that console without saying like, and here you only get Halo? It's like, how do you tell someone who's looking at PlayStation and saying, well, am I not just going to eventually get Halo? And again, it goes back. I'm sorry, bro. It goes back to the stamp. I think it
goes back to the stamp.
I think if that fucker's stamped on these games, then you just know.
But you technically can't stamp. You know why? Because you're technically not exclusive the minute you launch it on PC.
But this is an Xbox means the ecosystem now, right? So if this is an Xbox, wherever Xbox is available, the stamp works. Does that make sense?
I get where you're going, but I think from a legal standpoint, it might get them in trouble. I don't know
how on Xbox with the PlayStation cover.
Yeah, this is a whole question. The legalese, my alarm is going off saying.
Yeah, I wasn't advocating. I wasn't thinking that. Yeah, that's a little crazy. I meant more like, even if it's like on a digital storefront, like you're looking at Steam, you see the cover art, like that yellow stamp is there at the top.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You talking about on the store now. What I was thinking, see, what you got me thinking is with the whole, strategy and stuff like that, right? So I just sent you something in reference to which really impressed me with Indiana Jones, right? I never seen this, which is you buy it, you can link your account on Steam and cross progression on Steam, cloud saves on Steam. That is a first for me, outside of like the Minecraft and stuff like that. So to me, this is the ultimate of flirting with what your vision is. Whatever their console is, it's now.
Well, it strengthens what I was just saying.
Yeah, it literally strengthens your argument, because now it's like, okay, so what? You got it on Xbox, but also guess what? You like it on Steam, and you could continue and play on Steam and go between all our devices. And then I look at the Avowed situation.
So I can take my Steam save and play it on my console. Is that the idea?
Yeah, bro. That's the future to me. See, that's where I love Division. That's where I go, okay. Because remember, the main reason we were mad with this is an Xbox is because we said your damn vision isn't fully visualized yet for you to be running off at the mouth saying all this stuff. But if you want to give me all your Xbox first Game Studio games now have Steam cross progression, cross save, if you want to say, hey, Avowed and all our Xbox Game Studios will also be on Battle.net, If you want to say Xbox handheld, multiple storefronts, the day I get it, and I could go back and forth. It doesn't matter which platform I'm playing for. I'm taking Maddie's progress or metaphor wherever I want to go. Now you won me over Xbox. Yeah. That's fire. Yeah. So I agree. I just hope that's where it's going. You know what I'm saying? Because that to me is the future, and I love that. And I'd be willing to sacrifice physical for that. That's just me.
No.
I know you're the Duke of physical, but I would be willing to sacrifice. You tell me I pick up a game, I could play it on Epic, Battle.net, and Steam, and go wherever I want. I'm a part of that future.
Yeah, I like it. That's fine. But why can't, if I buy it physically, I put my disc in, I play my game, I save my file, and that's just,
yeah,
it still comes down to that, right?
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's where they're the coaster, right? They're
done there. Like that. Yeah, anyone who's listening to the show, if you're buying Xbox physical, I strongly suggest don't bother. Like,
this is not the physical collector's console, people. This is the Game Pass.
More exclusives system. This year. I don't think they had an exclusive this year off the top of my head that was fully on this. You had Halo Infinite, Starfield wasn't, Indie wasn't, Avowed won't be. Microsoft Flight Sim doesn't have physical. Hellblade was not physical at all, which I think was a mistake. Yeah, man, like what was the last one? Maybe Psychonauts 2, which got like a limited run, like that.
They not for you, bro. They not for the physical. They it's sad because I know how much that means to you. And it's just, to me, this is Blockbuster Video with them.
If I could get into my emotional bag one more time, I feel like I'm losing all objectivity this episode. So I'm definitely going to set myself up for a lot of people laughing at me.
No, this is how you consume games. This is important though. Okay.
I do feel we need to be cognizant. Like, if the online discourse has taught us anything, it's that gaming culture is getting butchered right now. And I think it's because in a post-pandemic world, like, we learned how to live online a little bit more, be a little more self-sufficient, that sort of thing. But with that came the loss in the case of gaming specifically. Like, midnight release isn't as prevalent anymore, right? That used to be the thing, dude. Now it's like the midnight unlock time, which is convenient. But that excitement, that shared excitement, I mean, I encourage people to look up like midnight release videos on YouTube of any popular game, a Halo, a Call of Duty, a Grand Theft Auto. I have so many photos from midnight releases, so many great memories from them. And that shared anticipation with like your fellow gamer, don't know each other, but you might cross each other online, like friendships are made there. It's really cool. And that is because of physical games. I know things like LAN parties are, they're relevant with things like QuakeCon still, but otherwise, like, I'm not going to sit here and like an old man shouting at a cloud to you and tell you like, yeah, dude, like, go do that. But as we separate more from the heart of what made gaming, we're kind of seeing the results, in my opinion. Money's nice, but soul matters more. Disney has the same problem. They make a lot of fucking money, but a lot of their projects lack a heart and a soul. And I feel like this year has also shown that a lot of people are kind of fed up with that lack of a heart in a project, especially now AI is becoming more prevalent, where we're starting to get shit spit out at us that we're like, is that real? Is that fake? Did a human make that? It's bringing a lot of questions. So I feel like that exiting of the more intimate parts of gaming, we're already seeing some early effects, and they're not good. Yeah, these big corps are making money, right. But the hobby's kind of suffering in turn. And I'm not saying they need to suffer for us, because I know they never would. But I do think there needs to be a level of like balancing to create authentic excitement. I think things like midnight releases. I mean, Xbox, to their credit, does a good job of keeping excitement up with like multiple showcases. They don't just have like one beat maybe a year. They have like 40. They have Tokyo Game Show, Developer Direct, the Summer Showcase. You can count on them sometimes. Famous last words, because watch, they don't do anything this year. Maybe they show up at the Game Awards. I don't know yet.
Who knows?
But you can expect them at a number. But Gamescom, almost forgot about that one. They have a huge literal post showcase for their summer showcase. They have a lot of different shows, partner previews.
Yes,
ID at Xbox showcases, like a lot, man. So that's the new form of excitement. But that sort of piecemeal approach, like we started to feel everything kind of fade a little bit. Again, 2020, E3 went. And what's sad is, in my opinion, as someone who's worked E3 a couple of times, that a lot of the people like cheering for E3's death came from folks who worked the floor. And I sympathize with that. But again, I think that the trade-off is now you just get like this bullshit online banter constantly and like little showcases that, oh, this is cheap to throw together. Here's like a 20-minute showing from Capcom on a bunch of crap you don't care about. And they just become big time wasters. I do miss the times where things were more concentrated. And again, Xbox kind of symbolizes to me a little bit of like being in the center of a departure from traditional gaming.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people sprint to PlayStation and Nintendo a little bit more right now, is there's a clinging to the past that exists.
No, this is a good discussion. I think that it's tradition, the core gaming sensibilities. I know Nintendo for sure, has that. Sony, I question now only because of the direction, change and the shift with, obviously live service and things that's been going on with them. There's a lot going on internally, but I know what you're saying. I think, look, I've accepted the digital physical aspect with them a long time ago, but to your point, I think the only way we can meet in the middle that I think may make you feel more comfortable is kind of what you suggested to me in reference to what GOG was doing. And GOG was like, look, we got digital, we got this storefront, but we have this preservation commitment that everything on our fronts, right? Storefronts, you can access. And we're giving you this level of digital distribution safety, that you will come to expect of us. If it has that stamp, you will always be able to play this. This will be in perpetuity, almost like a museum-like energy. Like we are going through the ways to because, I am concerned about preservation. And that's where when technology gets too advanced, right? And then in a sense where things can be automated and things can disappear in an instant. And me and you, we wax poetic about a game that I didn't even know you played that I like. Was it Marvel Heroes? That I absolutely loved that game. And then I remember it going completely away and was just like in a blink of an eye, this is done and kind of stuff. And that's the part I think that, has to change with if we're going to evolve this fast. At least they are going to evolve this fast into this digital storefront era. But to your point about, like the soul and stuff like that, it's valid. It's valid. I think the way I process it is what you said earlier. The consistent presence in giving me something. See, I'm gonna be real, and again, I'm gonna get attacked for this. I already know, but I'm just gonna say it. Like, I don't like when the company that I support does not speak to me or tell me what's going on. I just don't. I don't like that. I feel it's arrogant. I feel it's like you are so confident that I'm gonna spend money with you, that you're not gonna give me a showcase. You're not gonna tell me what's going on. You're not like, at least I know with one brand, I'm gonna get a showcase. I might get a developer direct. I might get a third party person show. I might get an indie showcase.
Sure.
At least I have an idea of what you're doing, right? Yeah. And I get the counter argument. Yo, they talk too much, show and prove. I get the counter argument. I'm here for games. If you show me games and games that could be coming out, I'm excited. I am not here to bloviate about how dope you were back in the day, and I'm supposed to have blind faith on how great you are because of what you did. I don't subscribe to that. I'm in a what have you done for me lately kind of mindset. That's just how it. And I do feel, to my pushback towards people, is like, that, oh, well, Sony and Nintendo are silent. Like, you don't know what they're doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that. To me,
they only show up when they want to squeeze you. Is kind of your mindset.
I don't like that, bro. I really, to me, it's disrespectful. Because yes, you have earned a level of cachet with your audience that you produce quality. I get that.
Sure.
But to go for like a year to two, and I can't even put Nintendo in this bad, because at least Nintendo would do a direct, for a few times. Like, bro, where is the, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on over there? That's my thing. I don't blindly trust people. You got to show me. That's kind of thing. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And I totally get where you're coming from. I look at Rockstar as an example that I think is what a lot of companies follow. Rockstar's games market themselves because they don't say a word. And all the questions and theorizing and speculation just mounts up, and they don't have to lift a finger. All they have to do is eventually show a trailer once. It's like, hey, here it is, just out of friggin' nowhere. And we see the numbers for GTA 6. This is going to be the biggest game ever. Oh, yeah. So, I feel like that's what PlayStation kind of tries to follow. I think that's what Nintendo tries to follow. Of like, it comes across as a consumer, like you only show up when you want to sell me something, but I guess that is the consumer business relationship at the end of the day. It's not supposed to be, I guess, like friendly or talkative, and maybe that divide is healthy in some ways, but I do think they do that so that when a state of play comes around, it's like, oh shit, like what's this going to be? And people tap in. Now, I will just say, last state of play was like, I don't remember the last PlayStation showcase I walked away from outside of the one with the KOTOR remake announcement where I was like, fuck yeah. And obviously for anyone who knows my taste, why I walked away from that going, fuck yeah, only to, here we are, just nothing. But still, I was talking to a friend about it the other night. I was like, man, what the fuck? Like what's going on? Nintendo Direct, same thing, bro. When a full length Direct shows up, bro, they put the minute length and people were like, oh, they got fire here for sure. It was 45-minute Direct. That's a big one, bro. Xbox puts on like 2-hour shows annually that are fire every summer.
The last 3 joints has been fire, bro.
Yeah. So that is what I think their silence is designed to do, is to get people to overreact to very little in some cases. Nintendo Direct, in fair, I get out of all the showcases, it's like Xbox Summer Showcase because it's delivered for me the most. Like bar none. It has consistently been like A+ shit 2 years in a row now for me. And the year before was also really good.
Absolutely.
Nintendo Direct, though, is always exciting because I know it's just all Japanese shit. And people get really bothered. Like, yo, what is all this weep shit? I'm like, this is great, man.
It's
like,
great. I love it.
Yeah, I'm basking in it. And they always have the surprise, like, oh, I forgot about that kind of announcement. So they do a good job of balancing like the new and the big with the indie and the smaller stuff. Format. But yeah, man, like I think, not that I'm explaining it to you, but I feel like that was my thought process behind the silence, right? Is when they go away, it's because when they show up, it's like a big to do. Like when that Switch 2 reveal kicks in, or where they just announce it, oh, the buzz is going to be crazy, dude. But what do you think the buzz would be like if Xbox said, like, we have a console to show you next week? What do you think happens there?
I mean, it is interesting because, again, with the strategy, right? If it's implemented properly, and it would, I think it would be positive twofold. One, because people do have concerns if they're trying to quickly exit the hardware business, right? Because of the multi-platform style approach. And the other thing is, again, we mentioned earlier, like whatever this new version of Xbox is, it most likely seems to be, it will flirt with a multiple storefront kind of situation. And I want to know how that world exists. Like, what does that look like? How does that, one, I want to know the business thing, like how you make money, right? Two, the game part, like, yo, all right, so if I buy it on Steam, I can just open the Xbox app, play the same game, and then I got all my Indiana Jones. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to see the inner, like, what's that future look like, and how does it, implement? And then more importantly, if it's handheld, like, ain't gonna have none of that raw Windows 11 cursor mouse nonsense. I'm gonna just see a front of games like I would launch up my console. Like, there's a part of me that wants to see that and see how it's implemented.
Yeah, dude, it's such a back and forth conversation because there's like, I wonder if at the heart of all this, what if Xbox did not pre-announce things as often? Like, what if Play Anywhere struck at a time when it was truly ready? Like, hey, you can play Xbox, PC, that's already there, right? But like crossing storefronts, like your Steam save comes over to Xbox, like we want you. Then this is an Xbox hits different, right? Because now there is something quietly, tangibly working in the background in Indiana Jones, right? But if they kind of use it as like feature one, kind of like, remember, the thing is we're not far removed from that. Remember FPS Boost was announced, right? And when it was announced, they're like, here's, I think, what was it? 15 games or something like that that support it. Like they announced it. They're like, here's what I remember, like getting the press release, like, here's what it is. Here are the games that support it. Go check it out. And I remember looking at it, it's funny because that was like the expectation, but now it's not as organized in that way. And again, because they had something tangible with it, who are some of the biggest supporters of FPS Boost, bro? It's like right here, this show, we're like, it's like a program I'm sad isn't getting supported. I thought that was like they were just going to keep like backup patches, like keep going all gen. And they kind of wind it down. It's fantastic what they did there. So I think that's kind of what's missing from Xbox is when they announce stuff, it's got to be tangible. I think that's the biggest mistake is because now they put the cart before the horse in some cases and create a lot of questions for themselves that they're going to answer, that they've shown the capability to answer, but it just takes time.
Yes.
Like, Xbox, you wanted to go always online, all this shit in the Xbox One gen, you're out of your mind. But like, look where we're at now. Look where most of the game sales happen. Like, they were right. They were right, just they were way ahead and they had nothing tangible. Like, there was no data suggesting where we were going. They probably did a deep study. They're like, we're ahead of them. They don't even know yet. Exactly. And now you know why that works out badly. So,
no, good point. Yeah. I agree. I think that was my same criticism of this is an Xbox. I was like, just have the tangible stuff, proof of concept ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And then do it.
Yeah. Let's shift a little bit. We've talked a lot about their exclusivity. Certainly, we could probably go on for another like 2 hours on that, just back and forth. But in the heart of this year as well, we learned about 4 studios from Bethesda being shut down, shifted, moved around. That was Arcane Austin closed, Alpha Dog closed. Obviously, Austin responsible for Redfall. Alpha Dog was responsible for Mighty Doom. Roundhouse Studios, I put an asterisk on, in fairness, only because they got absorbed into ZeniMax Online. So consolidation happened, but those people, to our understanding, still had jobs. So at least there was that positive. And Tango Gameworks was supposed to be studio loss number 3. They were until Xbox sold them off to Krafton, and apparently most of the staff was retained in that deal, which was good news. So really, that's why I use the term now. It used to be closing 4 studios. Now it's they lost 4 studios in Bethesda. And in the case of Tango, one of their best studios in the Xbox empire, if you will, and Arcane Austin, who I thought, despite how bad Redfall was, and I think I made that very clear over the year, despite how bad it was, I think deserved a second chance. And under that new initiative at Xbox with money and attention and time and working to their strengths, more importantly, to try and make something, especially with Harvey Smith at the top of it all. You combine that with a year where I think outside of Indiana Jones and Black Ops 6, that first party missed the mark critically or commercially. This again, I used Microsoft Flight Sim 24, RA History Untold, and Hellblade 2 as some examples here, where Hellblade 2 was a major problem. Like, they just didn't market it. Like, that was a huge deal. Remember, the marketing was there's no marketing. Like, fans were just saying, like, yo, like, here's the link to the storefront, by the way, like when Xbox was posting promotions for it very scarcely. But I don't think this has been a good year for first party either. I mean, when you lose that many teams, especially I know it's in a year of a lot of consolidating, a lot of layoffs, unfortunately, a lot of closure. So Xbox is not the only one. But again, when you look at the teams they got here, in the case of 2 of them, I think they lost some talent that would have been ideal to hold on to. And some of the games that I thought we'd count on as clean launches, like Flight Sim 24, like this is going to be just a sneaky good game for them throughout the year. Not quite, actually, and disastrous launch, in fact. Our History Untold, I thought, like, oh, dude, it's one of those games you just look at, you're like, how do you fuck this up? Like, this is fine. I loved it, but it got like just above a 70 on OpenCritic. Like, it did not review that well. It got 6s in a lot of places. Like, I was very surprised to see the scores for Our History Untold. So, the places where we thought quality would be guaranteed really wasn't. And so I kick it to you, Cog. What do you make of now we're at the end of the year, the studios they've lost, the quality of releases? How do you feel about Xbox in that case going into 2025? Do we see any releases that we're feeling a little iffy on? Because I'll get into it, but that's where I'm at. There's a couple of games I'm feeling a little unsure about based on the trajectory.
I gotta ask you, which one you feeling unsure about?
Well, do you want me to go first, or do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious. I'm very curious about that one, the uncertainty.
Sure. Well, I think for starters, I look at hold on, let me bring up their 2025 releases, because right now what we kind of are expecting for Xbox is Avowed and Fable. Atomfall is another. Doom: The Dark Age is another.
South of
Midnight's another. And so when I say this, I should clarify that the reason I was going to get into it later is conversation around these games.
Okay.
In particular.
Oh, I see where you're going. Okay.
Yeah, there's quality. Like, I look at Claire Obscure, I just see this on this list here, and like that one I'm super hyped for. There's games they've signed on like Atomfall that I just don't get. I think that game's going to be a disaster. But I do think the conversation around Xbox is going to get muddy in a new way next year between games like South of Midnight and Avowed, just by nature of the subject matter.
Yeah. Okay, I got you now.
Yeah,
okay, oh, you talking about
I didn't word it right.
Okay, I got you. Got you. All right, I can jump in.
Yeah.
if you're ready now. No, look, I think it's fair to say first party, you could say, was uneven this year, and I think the reason why it was uneven is because I'm a person that looks at a lot of people. You see, you're looking at Xbox first party like I look at it, which a lot of people try to act like Age of Empires don't exist, and they try to act like a Forza Motorsport won't exist. So they act, you know what I'm saying? Like they'll look at only what I consider the hardcore gamer kind of title as what they've released, right? And to your point, you are counting the auras, you are counting the flight sims, right? And what was surprising this year was usually those are the layups for them. Those are the ones that you like, regardless of what, there's going to be high quality. They always do well in these other genres. And yeah, Aura was like a 74 or something like that, even though what we played, right? It didn't critically review well. And then we do have to admit, I have to admit, Flight Sim, even though it's a good game and now I'm hearing it's better and all that, disastrous launch.
Yeah.
Disastrous decision to put it in, kind of like a cloud startup kind of thing. And, people are still having, some issues with it. So again, that's a game that's generally like a 90 plus meta game. Right. Right. So that's what's the surprise. Now, for me, and I will always push back on you, Hellblade was not that. Hellblade was actually critically still received well, despite you and Gene. The rest of the community likes Hellblade. And Hellblade was a technical tour de force, graphically and audio wise. So it showed, despite it being short, that they like, hey, this is what they can do. And a lot of people, and as the Gaming Awards says, they're getting a lot of nominations. So a lot of people did still like Hellblade. Now, I do think we're forgetting about Diablo for the which is the Vessel of Hatred. Still have to count that. I still look at Black Ops, which you did count, and that was again a major Call of Duty release under their banner, arguably one of the greatest, the best Call of Duties in some time, with a lot of potential to be screwed up, and they nailed that. Indiana Jones, phenomenal release. Obviously, some people are saying the best Xbox game studio over a decade. That's what these are quotes coming from people who don't even play on the platform. So you got that. But to your credit, I think that the knocks to me, that's how I internalize it. It's Flight Sim, Aura, and I'm going to include one that you didn't include. Shattered Space.
Oh God, how did I forget?
Those are the three for me that I'm just like, ooh, damn, like those should have been dunks for you that now detract from your overall year. So I got to give you like a overall, like you got like a B minus to C plus kind of ranking for me because it's like those really took some steam, especially Starfield, because to me it was like, yeah, it's DLC, but it should have been a slam dunk. It should have been that bad. And yeah, I have to be honest. If it wasn't for Indiana Jones, I would have been very concerned about Bethesda overall.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And actually, I was concerned about Todd Howard. I'm not even going to hold you. It was Indiana Jones that made me go, okay. Now, granted, I know that's machine, but we know damn well Todd got his fingers all over that. And that showed me that, no, they can still make a quality game. So what it showed me is that Starfield is a very confusing piece of the pie of something that they've created. And structurally, it's difficult for them. But they better take the feedback from what people are saying and not talk about, oh, well, just for features. They're just features. We could have put a truck in there
to expand a little bit on my comments about just concern for their future. There's big games next year, and I think 2024 was like a big shakeup for me and like my game taste, as in like I've never felt let down quite like I did with Starfield Shattered Space. Like I was just like, damn man, like this is my goat. Like what is happening? Like how it broke me. I was so upset about just how much of a radical departure from what I expect from this team and what this actually was. Dragon Age Veilguard was another moment like that for me, at least personally. So looking ahead, it's like, well, what lessons do you learn? Like, we all slip up, we all make mistakes. That's fine. And like you mentioned, like Todd's words on what and Phil's words, I'm like, if we added a vehicle, like maybe we gave that too soon. I'm like, your answer should not be to give us less and package it in elsewhere, dude. Like, that is the worst imaginable response to what was your most disappointing DLC ever, and a serious like red flag going into ES6. Like that, it's not like, imagine after Blood and Wine, right? Like they deliver, CD Projekt Red delivers Blood and Wine. It's awful. What do you feel going into Cyberpunk? You're like, oh boy, like that's, I don't know. Like, right. It's funny because Cyberpunk turned out for a lot of people to be disastrous, but there's that level of like, Todd Howard's my favorite creator in games, but I also have to be objective and be like, is there talent being lost there? As in, like, are we assessing the situation accurately, as well as we used to? Which I have critiqued Bethesda for the last 8 years now, saying you need to take better lessons from your missteps. Same goes for Xbox leadership. And to my point about games I would be concerned about, concern is a strong word. Maybe I should have chosen a little wisely. But I look at Fable. Now, Playground is a top tier studio. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, they don't got it. I'm just looking at Fable saying, this is you got to deliver it. And here's where I think the conversation gets a little interesting, is between Avowed, Fable, Dragon Age. There is a pushback against the more lighthearted, vibrant fantasy that all three of these games represent. There is that pushback. And I worry about labels. I mean, people went for Fable already. We already know what happened with Avowed. So I look at Fable and it's like, you got to keep it clean, bro. Like, you just got to like keep the developers' mouths shut, release your game, and go out. That's what I worry about, man. I feel like Xbox, when you look at this list, we've played Avowed. We enjoyed our time with it. So I'm looking forward to Avowed.
Wait, say, can you repeat that sentence?
I'm not repeating it too often because, hold on. I did that. I had that energy for Dragon Age Veilguard, and I ate my words big time.
We played a vertical slice of Avowed. Did we enjoy it?
Yes, we did. Okay. Absolutely. I have faith in Avowed, personally.
Me too.
Yeah, I was just saying. But I look at their list, I'm like, Avowed, Doom, Fable, South and Midnight. And they all look very interesting to me. Okay. Very good. But my worry about execution comes down to the conversation that surrounds these games. We had a really big talk about this on Constellation, actually. It was me, Locke, and Dave.
I missed that.
And it was really good.
Let me hear it.
If anyone wants to hear it, it's our Disney remake section. And I don't mean to plug all these podcast content because I know there's only so much time in the day, but it really is one of my favorite conversations we've had. And I'm curious what you think, Cog, is that we're in this very combative nature between creator and consumer right now. Like, this is my take, go fuck yourself, basically. And I have been of the mindset that I think the creators need to let the art speak for itself. Like, we all have our own worldviews. We all have our own approach to things. And that we need to just let that be interjected into the art you're creating and let people walk away with their own interpretations. Like, that's what art is. But I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse a little too often and just speaking out, shutting people down on all ends of the spectrum, might I add. It's not just one type of person or one type of game. And I worry with Xbox. And like, look, let's be frank. South of Midnight is going to tackle some tough themes, 100%. Avowed seems to have some sort of themes packed into it as well. And I think art is 100% allowed to, and I'm interested in that art. Like, especially South of Midnight, I'm very interested in that game, dude. Like the stop motion art style and stuff, the music, the voice acting. I mean, everything I saw from that preview at IGN, I was like, dude, this looks good. Like, this looks like Compulsion's really leveling up. So I'm pulling for them. They were one of those dark horses we talked about. But I worry that right now we're at this point where the conversation around games it takes like one person. Like in the case of like Snow White remake, it took one person and the lead actress to just say something and it just goes. And Xbox has had a problem with keeping talent of all kinds in check. And I worry because they have what looks like a fucking monstrous slate, dude. I mean, how many other game publishers would want to have an Obsidian exclusive, Doom in its newest entry, Fable returning, and a brand new IP from an underrated team in Compulsion? Like, that's an amazing slate, not including what I have here. Wu Chang Fallen Feathers looks awesome. Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Oh my God, Claire.
Yeah, like, dude, looks great. Tons of others. I have Winter Burrow here, like a cute kind of cozy indie game. Yeah. Xbox has a lot cooking. I just don't want them to be their own worst enemies. That's my worry on execution.
Okay,
and
I get that.
What do you think about that? I just think there's a time and a place to have these conversations. I think now is that, like, looking ahead, it's like, what got Xbox into hot water this year? This a lot of this, right? Before, just instead of letting the game show, is a lot of this. So what do you make of that?
I get where we're going now. Look, we got to talk the elephant in the room, right? And the elephant in the room is kind of what you alluded to, this whole discussion between creator and developer, or consumer and developer, and the lines of people not even willing to have a constructive conversation with each other, a lot of disrespect towards each other, a lot of sometimes the developer telling the gamer, you don't know what you're talking about, and this is what we're doing, and also the creator or as the consumer being extremely disrespectful to developers, sometimes without having any information, and outright going on an attack to cancel a game and do all stuff. And it's very disheartening. This is tough because me and you we've had this conversation before. A lot of this, in my opinion, is politically charged, right? Depending on what side of the fence you are politically, is going to formulate your opinion. And I think sometimes what's happening is now, let's look at Avowed, right? We know the situation as far as the art director and the comments that were made and so on. So, I mean, this thing went all the way up to Elon Musk, right? So we already know what it is, right? Right? We forget, like, it went to Elon Musk and Satya Nadella. That's why I was like, okay, we've hit a big scale now. Yeah. And I just think, I will say, even with all of this, one thing I realize about gamers is they talk, but they don't stand on business. And what I mean by that is, like, I've seen it happen where I'm like, oh, that's going to get destroyed. And then I'll look at the MPD, or I'll look at Circana, and I'll look at the engagement. I'm like, none of that happened. Or I'll see games like, yo, we are not standing for this company, right? But then when said company put out the game they like, crickets. And I'll look at the Circana, I'll look at the engagement, I'm like, wait a minute, I thought, it was a boycott against this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So what I realize is social media is an echo chamber. It is not real life. The same gamers will tell you Madden sucks. I did a dissertation and told y'all Madden sucks. It's the most overrated game. What did gamers do? Yeah, that's nice, Cog, but I got to play with the Falcons this week and I need to simulate. Come on.
We don't need to do that. They ain't looking hot right now. 6-3, 6-7 as of this moment.
My condolences. But a lot of people playing with the Chiefs, let's just say. They like, that's cute that you feel that way. I want a football game to play. Saying, guys, Call of Duty is the quality is diminishing every year.
Number one.
That's why I don't play. It's noise. They don't stand on business, because when it's the game you like, all of a sudden, you got no problem with Tencent. All of a sudden, you ain't got no problem with NetEase. All of a sudden, you see, I'm seeing dudes who said, I will never support a Chinese. Did you see Marvel Rivals engagement?
Oh, bro, I'm a fraud, yeah.
Not you.
NetEase we like.
NetEase got the back. I told people, I was like, morals be damned on that one. It made the Marvel MCU, I'm going to play. I'm letting you know where I'm going to be.
I already took 25 hours in Marvel Rivals. That's just so
let the expose come out on me, because I know what my hours say. Yeah. So that's why I laugh at this, because and here's the truth that we got to get to. The way Twitter is constructed, the way YouTube is constructed, it is to reward grifting and rage content. If I put out a video that says, I love XYZ game, versus I put out a video with a face, I hate XY, which one is going to get rewarded? Let's be real. So this, to me, I don't get caught up with all that, Xbox got to be careful with that. Grifters are going to grift. People who have legitimate conversations are going to actually bring up and give the feedback and actually go through the proper channels. But I just think that is that's an algorithmic thing that certain people are doing. And that's how I look at it. Now, back to your question, maybe I get myself in trouble again, but I will say, we'll see how 2025 does. But man, that lineup. And I know we've said this before. I get it. We've said it before. It looks like a killer lineup from Xbox. Whatever.
That's true.
But the only one I would say I'm a little worried, I'm going to say worried, is, Yeah, South and Midnight is going to have some noise around it, of course, right? Man, it looked good. My concerns was the stop motion. Like, damn, they got rid of that. You can turn it off. Okay, let's see if they land the plane. So that's the one I'm probably, I don't say the weakest on, but I was like, they still got some stuff to prove.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, it's a new IP. There's no way we can really feel strong about it until
and
we
its
know
compulsion's new. Yeah. They got a lot of pressure to deliver, right? So let's just say that's the one I got. You gonna tell me I'm worried about id Software in a Doom game?
Oh, hell no. No.
Look, I'm at the point with Playground, and I know they got to execute. I know it's not guaranteed. Everything I see, that looks like a GOTY. I told people who told you from the jump I saw Indiana, I betrayed all the Xbox first party this year. I said Indy is the one.
Yeah.
And Indy ended up being the one, right? So
you did snipe that. I want to give you credit on that. You did snipe that in the developer direct at the top of the year. You literally went through all those games and went, that one.
That one. I said that because I know what the public likes. Ebontis, shout out to Ebontis if he listens to us all the time. He's my test bed. Ebontis he's a PlayStation guy, but he plays everywhere. He's not just, not like, I don't play Xbox. He loves Forza Horizon. He loves Forza Motorsport, right? He's a car guy. Mm-hmm. But he's a guy, you tell him a good story and you get some emotional beats, you get the tear running a little bit, he's in. So I looked at him, I said, so let me see at how Indy landed with him. And he is like, all right, got some technical issues on certain things, but he was like, nah, this is it. See, he represents that's why I came up with #JustOne, because I know the reason why a lot of people love Sony first party is they want those amazing narrative stories. And this was dope because they had the formula, but they put their own twist with first person, and we're going to give you immersive sim, and we're going right. So when I look at Fable, I'm like, first of all, this is graphical true to force. Everything from every person I've heard that I trust is like, y'all are not ready. So again, it's talk, it's hyperbole, they need to execute, but I'm really not as worried with that one. So we got Doom, we got that. We said South and Midnight, and then we got Avowed. And I'm gonna say something even more controversial. As of recording, I am going to go check out Avowed's competitor, let's just say. And I'm very excited.
Oh, right? Really? Nice.
Yeah, good. I'm very excited. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm very excited to get hands-on with that. And then I will revisit this. But as of this recording, my heart is still on the Avowed side until I get remember, I got hands-on with Avowed twice, me and you.
Yeah.
2 separate times.
Yeah.
The Avowed had me so hooked. I was a little like, damn, it's over. That's all I keep thinking about. I just want to play more. I want to go. You know what I mean? I want to take this. That's where Avowed is with me. I'm just not worried at all now. And that was a game I came in a little concerned. And I remember I'm Team Black Rock. And I was like, I don't know. I got to see. Sure. And then when I played, I'm like, no, I'm good. So again, outside of South and Midnight, I'm not really concerned. And then look at, we just talking about 4 or 5 major kind of blockbuster kind of titles. This is super exciting to me. So again, maybe I'm a glass, what is it? Half full, always, I'm butchering.
No, half full. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'm that guy. Maybe I'm too positive to a fault. Maybe
no. I don't think. Yeah, I'm just trying to ask the questions that I know are tough to talk about because I know if sometimes it's tough to do as the host because I always imagine when we record the show, I think of our audience. I also think of developers who I know listen to our stuff in passing and stuff. And they're probably like, oh, this fucking guy is worried about people on Twitter and just what they kind of do this about. But I'm like, at the same time, I do feel it's legitimate enough to talk about what can Xbox do? They're the pros at stepping on rakes. What can they avoid? And it's you have a lot of games that are going to be tackling sensitive subject material. And I do look at Metaphor as the leader in that category of dude, go in. No one has an issue with that. Go all the way in like Metaphor does. They don't stop for anyone or anything. And they make it very clear what they feel about certain subject matter. It's beautifully thought out world, but they let the game do the talking. And that's what helped them out the most, And I feel since The Last of Us Part 2, we have been caught in a culture of preconceived notions.
Yeah.
And we cannot continue to pretend this just is going to stop one day.
No, you're right.
It's you got to give these games a chance, including the staff, including the players. Everyone needs to give the game a chance. Mm-hmm. And I'm not just speaking about Avowed when I say that. I mean, just art has to have the ability to speak for itself. And then if the consumer speaks, like, that's what I found so interesting about Joker 2 when it came out. That conversation was really interesting when it came out. A lot of people were expecting one thing and they were like, oh, this feels like a fuck you. And people like cross critics and audience were like, nope, sorry, but we don't like this at all. And while I enjoyed parts of the movie, I love that how the conversation kind of happened there. Like, it was given a chance and people were like, nope, we're not about that. And I feel like Xbox needs to set up, like, this is an important year, right? We're 2025, this new multi-plat push. And these are, I mean, dude, Fable's been in the rumor mill since 2017. I know that because that's when I started covering the game. Fable has been gone for a while. Lionhead is a tragedy within the Xbox history. To hand it over to this team and be like, this is the one we wanted to trust them with. This was the vision we went with. Like, a lot is riding on that revival. And by the way, this goes beyond, I'm done talking about like what people are talking about.
No.
It's just the quality and execution, right? That's where I look at, in my opinion, Flight Sim, just a good game underneath it all, bad launch.
Yeah.
Hellblade 2 did not deliver for me. I think the way it was presented felt like it was going to be much more than what it actually was. But even getting away from that, what was within it, I thought was underwhelming compared to the first game, which I loved, by the way.
But it reviewed critic. I'm going to push back. It reviewed critic. 82 is not bad, man.
We got to get that user score then. Hold on. What's the user score?
Yeah, pull up the user score. Whatever. I'm just saying, when you get to 81, 82 Metacritic, the masses said this is a good game.
What is the masses score? Let's see if I'm going to eat crow. All right. Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2, Metacritic, 7.4. All right. Whatever, bro.
All right. I mean, look. It's 7.4. The blue pom-poms one. No.
It's the best of the bad. Then we'll put it that way.
All right, put it that way.
Shattered Space.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, we don't need to. I don't need to beat a dead horse here. So my point being is, I had a lot throughout this year for Xbox that underdelivered for me. Whether it would just not be fun or low quality or missing the mark. I enjoyed Our History Untold, but I do think those scores spoke a completely different story from what I was feeling. And I don't mean to put all that into a number score, but I feel like Xbox missed the mark more than anything this year with indie. Like, if indie wasn't amazing, I think the whole conversation here would be different. It'd be like, what, Black Ops 6 was maybe your best game this year? Like, that's a really awkward conversation to have because we know Xbox only got involved in the final stretch of that thing, if anything at all. So looking ahead, I'm like, all right, when we previewed Avowed, I said, like, look, what I played was pretty great. But there were some glitches there, some AI that was off there. Like, some of the frame rate was dipping. Like, there was enough bumps in the road where I was like, you didn't delay this game because it was done and you wanted to give it time. You delayed it because there's some problems here. And so I worry long term, like, are there more problems within Avowed? Fable is just about execution. Doom, I have zero concerns about. South of Midnight is really more of the conversation, to be frank.
Yes, that's the conversation.
Yeah, that's more of the conversation.
That's the one that the conversation can affect the loudest because of the fact that new IP, let's just put the elephant in the room,
Black
involvement with certain company and black female protagonist, involvement with certain consultant company that certain people may have said issue with, right? So you got that.
I'll do it.
And the Fable conversation will be because, let's just put it out there. We know what's going on. Fable conversation will be because a certain group wants very attractive main characters. So this main character may not be on the most attractive scale. And what I will say, though, I think Jez put this out, that there is the option for a male
there should be. It's Fable. Like, there should be.
He's been on record. No, but a lot of people I'll be honest, I didn't know if they were going to do it. I mean, based on Fable's history, I should know, but it was concerned because all you saw was this protagonist that was shown so far. So people were like, that group were like, you see? Yeah. They're trying to force this on us, kind of thing. And I think that was the conversation. But those are the noise conversations, I would say, out of that could affect those two the most. But I think in Fable's defense, what people have seen from Fable will overshadow that. But I think South of Midnight has the most pressure from the conversation on the outside discussion.
Yeah. So it's just, I think, a very important year for them to just really let these games do the heavy lifting. You know what I mean? Like, let them come out, do their thing. I think they all have a chance. I know we've said this before, but I do look at the list and I'm like, these are all proven developers in one way or another. Compulsion is the question mark, because it's like we have We Happy Few beforehand, and We Happy Few I thought had amazing ideas, but like it's, it being this like procedurally generated open world killed a lot of the potential for that game, at least for me. But otherwise, I'm like, dude, I have no reason right now to doubt Obsidian. The last game they made in the Outer Worlds was a top RPG of all time for me. Doom: The Dark Ages, it has never let me down. Playground Games is a proven track record. Now doing an action RPG, it's like, can they do the Horizon? Yeah, can they? That's what it is. Can they go from Killzone to Horizon? Can they go from Forza to Fable? That'll be fascinating to watch, but it's a very important year for them because I think it does set the tone for their future more than we've accounted for, because now you're looking at a situation where like we don't know what gets announced soon, but like we're hearing about the Xbox handheld and stuff, and it's like, you know, it's time to, this is all new stuff, or return, like Avowed is new, South of Midnight is new, Fable's under a new developer, a new era for Fable. Like last time we got new Fable at the start was the beginning of the, you know, the Xbox itself. So to me, this symbolizes like, okay, what are people going to look at when they're making their next console purchase? What are they going to remember? And this is like the recency bias is going to kick in. Like what came out from Xbox toward the end of a generation. That was really like firing on all cylinders. So I feel like this is the year. We've had a lot of like, yeah, man, this year is going to be great for Xbox. And they kind of come in and stumble, you know, like even in 2023, it's like, yeah, we start off with Hi-Fi Rush and that was amazing. But then you moved into Minecraft Legends review kind of and then, you know, you move down the year a little bit further. Starfield was a fucking mess, you know, Forza Motorsport didn't make as much noise as we anticipated. So it'll be very interesting to see how 2025 performs for them on both quality and conversation.
Two things I want to add to this conversation before we move on. One, I do agree with the, I want to word this. I don't want to say developer shut up, but I want to say developer be careful with these releases. All the members of these teams, whether it be Obsidian, Compulsion, Playground, and you know id, right? Just be cognizant that yes, we want you guys to make the vision in the game you want, but please don't be selfish. Please don't make statements that would put your team at risk. And I think what Maddie's trying to allude to is let the game do the talking, right? You know, you can bloviate about your game. You can talk about all the features you guys about the game. Let's not isolate anyone. Let's not call out anyone. Let's try to be less combative, you know what I'm saying, if we can.
You know when it resonates most is in the aftermath. Like when you're talking about like, man, this game was great. How did you come up with that? It's like, well, what we were thinking while we were making it was whatever that may be. Now it's like a level of, if art is to open someone's mind, for example, which not every game, by the way, is trying to do that. If you're just trying to have fun, that's all there is to it, right? But for the games that are trying to communicate a message or something, if like that is the goal, I'm not trying to tell developers or creators of any kind to shut up, but like, you know, what I said about the Disney remake thing that was ongoing is like, you know, Disney has a habit of just hiring inflammatory people. Like that's just what's happened. Like it sunk The Acolyte. It sunk this Snow White remake before it even happened. People are there to be entertained, consume, be educated, all of the above. When you put the cart before the horse and you speak on behalf of the team, Cog used the perfect word. It's selfish because everyone is in on that, right? Like I talked about it with Laylee. I was like, imagine if like she's working on the game with me. I'm like, imagine if she just went out and made a fucking statement on behalf of the whole team before our game came out and just like sunk the story that we spent years crafting. It's like, it's like, damn, man, all of that so that one person could take it down. Like that is a level of selfishness that is, by the way, not just a avowed situation, though people will pretend it is. It is a problem across entertainment. It's like the selfishness in my eyes stems a little bit from the idea of like, you want to hear this from me. It's like, no, I don't, dude. Like you are a level designer at a random game development company. I don't care about your ideologies or your beliefs or anything, frankly. Like there is a level of like, just shut up and make the game. I can't lie. Like there is a level of that comes with it. And not that everyone can't speak their mind or have their beliefs, but again, it goes to like, you're the artist, let the art speak for you.
For itself.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a tough one because I am literally the person who can empathize on both sides, like I think equally. And I get both mentalities because it's the mentality of the gamer is like, bro, don't talk down to me. Don't isolate me. Don't, you know, make it seem like something's not for me or like I don't know anything. But then the developer is like, bro, I done put 5 to 7 of my blood, sweat, and tears into something to show you, and you guys are speaking with uninformed and being disrespectful. And the temptation is not to lash out at that. And I do empathize with that. There is a part, like, because let's say I don't know anything about Maddie Game. Yo, son, you heard what he's doing? Yo, guess what they doing? They about to have 6 furries in that joint. You ain't know they had 6 furries. Yo, I am not with this furry joint. Look, man, I took random screenshot and I think they gonna have furries, bro. We got to stop the furries. Now, Maddie, as developer, you know none of that is true.
Yeah.
And now they like, yo, anti-furries, bro. We ain't supporting that Maddie joint. You see?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's correct to lash out at that person, but I understand the emotionality of a studio. Like, yo, bro, this motherfucker don't even know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's that kind of thing. So last point I'll say, and then this will be the final thing on this subject. You said about the, you know, pressure of them delivering stuff like that. I will say this. Because you said recency bias. That's what you said. With all the games that's coming out for next year.
Yeah.
I will say this. I will talk my talk, though. If these games land, right, and let's just say for the most part in the 80s and higher, right, I will be revisiting the Matt Booty discussion. I will be revisiting because these are the games that were created during the era past acquisition, during the Xbox banner, right? And if these games land, right, the the Fable especially.
Fable has his name written all over it because he is drawn that line. He's very confident in that. So
it's that compulsion because it's still under the banner. That's a big one. If these games land, Avowed, that was why one of the reasons why Xbox was excited was that, hey, they saw this game. They were like, hey, if they can land this, then we can have the conversation that I've been waiting to have. Is that now Matt Booty has proven the worth and the quality is there. And that will be a big W for them if they can pull that off. And that's what I will say. I'll leave it alone.
Right on, dude. Yeah. It's an interesting time for gaming, isn't it? That a lot of the talk for this episode had to be about the talk of the game itself, right? It's kind of sad, but that is the world we live in currently, at least. But I agree that the Matt Booty conversation will be revisited for myself, especially. I called for his job. Like, I'm not going to act like I didn't say that. So I'm curious to see how he delivers. And for me, is it vindication at the end of the day or not?
You get to talk to me. You be like, I told. Now look at all these joints. And they 70 something, and if they come out with
good games while he was there, it's more organization and just that sort of like the ship he was running just seemed from inside reports to be awful. But if these games deliver, that's all I care about. So I'm keeping an open mind to all of that, and I'm excited to see what they do. I mean, every year we do say, look at this year. I feel this is the most measured I've been going into a year for Xbox, so they have the chance to really surprise. They really do. Do you have any predictions for release dates for all of these, right? Let's look at we already know Avowed, right? We know this is a February game, but we have left is South of Midnight, Doom, as well as Fable. I feel like Fable's got to be the holiday title now. Like this has to be the one you build toward.
Yeah, I mean, we know obviously Avowed's got its release. South of Midnight's going to be critical. I wonder if
I feel like that's a spring game.
I would hope so, right? Yeah. You know, but a lot of times we be feeling some of these joints in spring, and then
I know we're always so off, but I feel like I'm saying spring,
us again.
Spring, South of Midnight, summer time, Doom, and then actually I think I'm going to flip those two because I remember Doom was a spring game. I remember when it came out in 2020, it was a spring game. So 5 years? That sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I mean that, and then we forget about one. Well, technically, it wasn't like not an exclusive in a sense, but Towerborn didn't make it into 2024. Yeah. So that got to drop in 2025. They got to figure out where to put that bad boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would lean towards you that Fable seems to be the second half big release.
When they do the double feature for the showcase.
Yeah, he's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be Xbox Showcase, Fable Direct, and then we get Fable, that you would think that's the one they're gonna run
the
with.
Most sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's sound. I think from you.
Yeah, because otherwise, trying to think, Starfield Year 2 DLC.
They can take some time. And
some people immediately started predicting because Todd was going to be presenter at the Game Awards. They're like, oh, they're going to show Starfield Year 2 DLC. I'm like, I don't think they're going to show that until June next year, the latest they possibly can. I think Starfield's going to go away for a nice long while.
my hope is that the feedback is received and they take their time. And
maybe year 2, it bleeds into year 3 a little bit, as in like, if it needs a little extra time to get it just right, you let that happen, right? Like, oh,
right though, you did in your interview with Todd. He did allude that. Did he allude to?
No, he confirmed. Like he said, we're doing DLC next year. So,
it is. Oh, so it is happening there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see how it goes.
So that'll be there, and
that'll be there.
That's definitely the riskiest bet right now of 2025. So
that could shake things up.
Yeah, that could definitely shake things up.
Hopefully, the feedback was received.
And,
from Shattered Space, and we can get back on track.
Let's hope so.
Any
thoughts for 2024 or 5 left on your plate? Conversations we didn't really get to when it came to Xbox.
Just I think for me, it's the vision of Xbox Anywhere slowly starting to take shape. And I kind of alluded to it with the the Steam's cloud saves, the launching Avowed on Battle.net, really starting to put the tension. I think today, as of recording, the Xbox games that you own streaming thing, I think, has gone live, and there's another development happened today. I'll get you the link in a second, but I am starting to see signals of Order 66 everywhere. Good. And I'm starting to see it. I'm like, okay, you were a little early, but I'm starting to see you push this thing, and I'm curious about that. I'm curious about how transformative that will be. And then obviously, we always talk about it usually every Duke, but the handheld situation, how close are we? There's still a level of coyness, I think, in my opinion, that they may have with that. And I'm very curious about, at least maybe an announce, maybe not that it's going to be here this year, not even top of next year, but announce is coming, be on the lookout, soon. I feel like they're bubbling on something. We'll see. I know AMD just put out some like really big mobile chip announcement as far as the improvements in the next chipset. Shout out to my man, the Fox. He's like the authority. I consider him one of the authorities on handhelds, chipsets, TPU. He was the one that kind of felt like way before the handheld rumor started that the Series S literally is the easiest to transform into a handheld, and it would be easy for Microsoft to do this. Like, and how chip development has increased and technologies and TDP and all that stuff has increased, and how like it would be a seamless transition. So I'm very curious about that, because again, we know that's part of it. And I guess the last point for me is just the part that we hate to talk about, but just the King portion. The King portion of the ABK deal. We still, for all important, outside of, yes, Call of Duty now coming through, committees and all this stuff, we still haven't really gotten the rest of the ABK, train to get going still. It's still in the holding patterns, most of it. We still haven't got all the games yet, the Spider-Man games, the Transformers games, the Marvel games, they still seem to be holding on, and it's still slower than I anticipated, in addition to the mobile store and the King aspect of stuff there. So ABK still hasn't fully realized. That's the crazy part. And then, last point, when I talked about storefronts, the future of Battle.net. Like, what's going on there? Is it going to be a situation?
That would probably be on their next system, right? You have to imagine like Battle.net on Xbox, right there with Steam. Like, I feel like that's a good 1-2 punch.
Yeah, man. Battle.net. What is it? Are they hinting that Battle.net is where we're going? And someone told me the Xbox app updated today. There's huge updates going on right now. So I think I saw a shout out to Paris. He was messaging something. So all I would say is I think Order 66 has started. It's just the execution, the advertising for it before you actually do it. It was up my issue.
Yeah. We're getting there, right? We're getting there, and I think the goal has to be, as they've kind of stated before, they might have even said it outright directly. I might just be misremembering, but bringing the PC experience to the living room in as subtle a way as possible. Yeah. Multiple launchers is one of those things.
Mm-hmm. You have to make PC. I think for them to do this successfully, you have to, I would say trick, but you have to make PC feel like that is truly Xbox. And you have to have everything in play, working, functional, and doable, storefront wise, streaming wise, for it to now like, okay,
yeah,
it is. You know what I mean? That kind of energy.
Yeah. And I think converting people who are scared of PC gaming is a huge part of their strategy. Like, oh, you want the PC experience, but it's easy and it's really great over here. Like, make Xbox that easy recommendation, like a Steam Deck almost. Like,
yeah.
Like my wife loves the Steam Deck. She does not do PC gaming. She's an Apple user through and through. But Steam OS is great. Just very intuitive, very simple, very easy to understand.
So clean.
Right? So I feel like Xbox, if they could figure that out, that'd be huge for them.
I'm like, yo, if you ain't cheating, steal it.
Yeah.
Bro, like, steal the same interface. Bro, that's what people like.
Yeah.
Make the console version of that, and then you just have the storefront choosing on the back end or whatever, and have that as a hypervisor or something, and get it going.
Completely. Mm-hmm. Any bold 2025 predictions to wrap up? What are you looking forward to in 2025 that's unannounced that you think will happen?
Unannounced.
Or it could be, sorry, it doesn't have to be unannounced. Okay. I'm speaking for myself because I have a bold prediction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in trouble for
that. Oh boy, all right, let's hear it.
I think they deliver, bro. I really do. I got new Mets.
Your bold prediction is that they actually meet quality standards.
Yeah, I think I got Steve Cohen energy right now. The Mets are making me believers. Okay. I think this is leaking into my Xbox enthusiasm. I think they do it. I really do. I think that the quality will be there. I honestly do. I could be wrong. Things happen, but I feel really strongly about everything I'm hearing and everything I'm seeing, and I think for the most part things will land. And yes, they're going to bound to say something stupid. And we're going to put that out. They're going to say something stupid. It wouldn't be the Xbox way if it wasn't some miscommunication or something. But when it comes to the games, I think booty's going to be. I think you're going to have to embrace
for the booty.
Yeah. I think it's redemption arc, man. I think you're gonna have to embrace the booty this time.
All right, bro. Hey, look, I have no problem being wrong, and I certainly want a strong, healthy, and more importantly, exciting Xbox. This year has been plagued by a lot of negativity for Xbox, and a lot of my enthusiasm for the brand as it stands is kind of gone. It's like, if I didn't do this show, I would be pretty much like not interested in them at all. But like, they're just such a fascinating company to study as an enthusiast. That's all they kind of serve for me right now. So I would love to get back to like 2023, 22, Maddie, where I was like, fuck yeah, like I'm totally on this ride. Let's go. They kind of hurt me this year though, man. I'm just like, all right, y'all are losing me. So I hope they do storm back with like some of the best games, you know. Again, we've talked about that. They need that year, like we say every year, where like, it's not just one, all have to deliver, because it can't be like, oh man, South of Midnight really flopped, so now Fable's got to over deliver. That is the cascading effect. Yeah, there's always a chosen savior for the year.
Yes.
And Xbox needs to just get away from that narrative by letting all these games do an Indiana Jones. Like, they all stand on their own 2 feet and are strong Game of the Year contenders. That is the expectation from them, and it should be nothing below that. And I think Indy is a little glimpse into what could be. So I hope that that's what we get out of 2025. And certainly the slate of titles there have the potential to at least deliver strong games. We'll see what happens on the other end, of course, but that's what I'm hoping for. For me, bold prediction.
Oh,
there's so many games announced for 2025, and there's one that leaked. I guess it wouldn't be bold per se, but I think 2025 is the year of the Bethesda Game Studios remakes. I think it starts. I think it starts with Oblivion.
Oh,
yeah. I think it starts.
Okay,
and I think it's time finally. And it would be well timed, you know, because I look at ES6 is on the horizon, but also, you know, there's a level of like, I'm not wavering because they've made like 4 of my favorite games ever. I actually just did like a top RPG list, and like all these old Bethesda Game Studios RPGs are in my like top 15. But look, man, when it comes to them, some people have forgot. And a remake is a good way to remind. To be like, hey, remember what we provided you with Oblivion? We've re-released Skyrim a million times, so you already know that. Like, here, come back to Tamriel, see what's popping, see what's crack-a-lacking. Remember what the goats have done for you. I think of it a little bit, if anyone wants to know where my head's at, a little bit of a thought process similar to BioWare and Mass Effect Legendary Edition. BioWare was on such a down bad stretch. It was Andromeda, it was Anthem 2.0 getting canceled. But then comes along a little remaster collection, and all of a sudden, everyone remembered how great BioWare was. So much so that I know it's hard to imagine in a pre-June 2024 world where the worst trailer imaginable dropped for the game, but there was a level of anticipation and excitement for Dragon Age, the Veilguard, formerly Dreadwolf, for all those years. The leaks, the rumors, the thought process, people were like, yo, BioWare might actually clap back with this. And I really think it all centered around that remaster collection, reminding people of what they can do, what they are capable of, you know? And so I think with Bethesda Game Studios might be a similar thing. Like, they kind of forgot 76 happened, Starfield happened. Let's bring them back, right? There is that rumor of Fallout 3. So just throwing it out there, y'all. Just throwing it out there. I think next year is the year it happens.
Any New Vegas, in conjunction with a certain show going to a certain area?
I think it's the break glass moment. I really do think, especially if Obsidian's like maybe in a post-eval world, let's say like just shit hits the fan. They're like, oh boy, I think you're going to make a second team there. You're going to throw them New Vegas too and be like, this is your recovery project. Finish the Outer Worlds 2. Get on this quick. I think it's the break glass emergency moment.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Because I don't know. I really... Outside of the Fallout remasters, I'm just out of guesses on what they're doing with Fallout. Like, I just look at it, I'm like, the obvious choice is there. Go make a new game. But Bethesda Game Studios is working out Elder Scrolls 6. They're not going to, they should never stop that. They should have done that years ago. Obsidian's busy. Who else do you pick? In Exile, they're working on a brand new IP that looks and sounds amazing in Clockwork Revolution. So, I don't know who you give this to. Like, Larian expressed mild interest because they said if we were, did you ever catch that headline? Swen Bink said, when we were starting Baldur's Gate 3, there was only 3 IP we said we'd work on. It was Fallout, it was Baldur's Gate, and what was the other? There was a third one that was like very old school. But Fallout was there, and I literally quote tweeted, and my exact words, Cog, were, give this man Fallout and whatever budget he wants.
That's crazy.
So crazy. I'm just saying, like, Larian's working on 2 projects now. That would be, to me, the moment of like, oh, they're going to bring back classic Fallout. This is the team to do it. That is my only like hope and a prayer guess for what they're doing. If you're not doing another mainline game and all of the mainline developers and potential mainline developers are tied down, outside of making a brand new team, I think this is the only option you got. Sign Larian on for a project, man.
Hey, Larry and them dudes, man. Get them in the building anytime we want. Me, they are the pinnacle of
completely
RPG and choice and chop consequence. They are can't front on them. Boys, they get busy.
It's insane. All right, Cog. Well, it was great reflecting with you on what has been a tumultuous year for Xbox, but we're hoping for 2025 things turn up a little bit more. And I think, oh boy, I think here's another bold prediction. I think it'll be a better year just by default, right? How do you get worse than pulling off a lot of Band-Aids like they have this year? Like, really, sincerely, like, how do you get worse than that? Like we're shutting studios down. We're shutting studios down, and our hardware's not really selling, and we're going multi-plat. Like, we're
making the most money that we've ever made.
No, I'm just saying, bro.
And we have the most active users that we ever made. We have the greatest Call of Duty, the biggest game on the platform.
When I say how bad does it get with the conversation on Xbox is horrible, right? I'm thinking of like a raw cut that they just pulled the Band-Aid off of with no hydrogen peroxide or anything like that, right? It's just a fresh wound. I'm like, how do you go and do below that? Despite the positive outcomes that COG has laid out, how do you go below that? It's like, I don't think you can. So I think next year by default, because we know what Xbox is, there's been a collective acceptance of that reality. This is what Xbox is. This is how they will operate, and they will continue to confuse us to some degree. Very well, have it your way. So now that we've accepted that, business as usual. It's about the games now. That I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. I mean, well, I will say this. It can get worse. Xbox 2022. that was
all these games get delayed, some shutdowns.
Yeah, it could get worse.
I guess it could.
You know, that's when we came from the grounded and Pentiment only era.
I get this scary feeling because we have a lot of these moments in this show where we're like, should I say this? Oh, I don't know. Like, I feel like something in this episode has to be like deeply prophetic. Like there has to be something here that we said that's gonna come to fruition that we'll be like, uh-oh.
I know. Like, that's the risk with all these predictions and stuff. Yeah. And again, this is under the impression that, you know, games are going to release and the games are going to be quality, right? Yeah. The curveball you never can forget, you know, is that one, you know, the delays, right? The delays happen. You go, oh, man, we're looking forward to that one, right? That gets pushed out. And then the super banana peel where you're like, what? That completely bombed?
Yeah.
What? You know what I'm saying? That's why predictions are hard, you know, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm with you. One would think, you know, we don't backslide to an Xbox 22 or have what I consider, you use the word tumultuous, I'll use the word uneven year of 2024. So to me, yeah, they did well financially. Xbox revenue was this and all that. Hardware was down, bad for sure. But if you look at their overall gaming revenue, they were up. And I know like everybody like to use the asterisk of, well, if it wasn't for ABK, yeah, but they bought ABK.
Yeah, they bought ABK for a reason.
I don't
stupid argument.
Subscribe to that. Oh, if you wasn't, you know, rich, you wouldn't have. Okay, but they're rich, so this is what we're dealing with now. Yeah. So, I just look at it as they need to improve the conversation around Xbox and the consistent quality of all the first party titles for all entire year where you go, okay, that was good, that was good, that was good, that was good. None of this, you know what I'm saying? Yep. That's what, you know, they need from me. And we'll see. But I'm with you. I do feel on paper that this looks like, you know, 2025 looks like, they should be super strong, you know, and we'll see how it plays out.
Absolutely, dude. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fun 2024 with all of you. Thank you for joining us for Defining Duke and Xbox podcast all throughout, recapping the uneven year, as Cog would put it, the uneven year, the ups and downs of Xbox as we go through another year with Xbox in 2025. We hope to see you there. Thank you for being part of this. And Cog, any other closing thoughts before I wrap it up?
No, this is fun. And we get to go on tangents, have some fun, bank another holiday episode. Appreciate Realm of the Dukes with the support, man. So these are always a lot of fun getting a chance to do these recaps and stuff like this.
Absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next episode of Defining Duke, whatever number that ends up being. You'll see it in the title, but nonetheless, tune in. We're there every Sunday, every Thursday on Patreon, of course. Forgot all my plugs and everything. What a disorganized show I run here, but nonetheless, we're happy to have you. Stay safe, stay healthy, happy holidays, and we'll catch you next time for Defining Duke and Xbox podcast. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.